What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Michael.
And I'm Ray.
Welcome back to Sipping with the Simpkins. Today, we're going to be talking about parenting 101 without the manual.
Without the manual. This should be pretty interesting. We know quite a few folks out there that with children, grown and young. I think we all experience the same stuff.
Grown and young?
Yeah, grown meaning 20 plus years old, young meaning still in high school.
Yeah, or even middle school, actually.
Or middle school.
Yeah.
But I think parenting overall, we don't talk about it enough. I think there's some things that we all go through, regardless if you got boys or girls, teenage years or teenage years. And I think once we all really started sitting down, if we really started talking about it, you'd have more common things than not.
Probably so.
Probably.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to have those conversations just because, again, when you think about parenting, you think about children, they are all uniquely different. You can have parenting style. You can have two children who are raised in the same home and they could be vastly different in terms of how they perceived their parenting and how they received their parenting. So it's just I think that's what makes it complicated. Like there's never going to be a manual because there's no script for this because it just depends on how it lands with that particular child.
Everybody's different. And they say, if you have multiple kids, maybe about the second or third one, you start to figure it out a little bit.
Yes, that's true.
But
because you get some practice, and you get to like this personality did well with this or did it, and you can kind of adapt.
Right, but like you said, you could have 3 kids that grow up in the same household, all going through the same exact parenting, and they all turn out completely different based on the way they view what happened in the house. So that's interesting. If you got kids out there, multiple children who are grown adults now and they went completely different, we'd be interested in knowing about that.
Yeah.
What are you sipping on? We forgot to tell the people what we're sipping on. Same thing, San Pellegrino.
I drink water. Mint. All I do was water.
A little mint.
Yes, sparkling water.
Little
splash of cranberry.
And some lemon.
Yes. That's my typical.
Tastes pretty good.
Tastes pretty good.
Salute.
It's probably the only water he's drinking today.
Not true.
Probably. So what did we expect parenting to be like? Or what shocked you most as a new parent?
What shocked me was the fact that kids do what they see you do and not what you say. I thought they would listen. I thought, why am I saying they? Like we got multiple kids, right?
Yeah.
I felt like our son would listen more to what we say versus what he's seen us do, especially when you're young. So it's not always true.
You know? Why did you think that when that's not even what you did?
When I was young?
Right. Did you do what your parents said?
Of course I did.
Or did you do what you saw them do? You'd be like...
Nah, I did what my mom and said do. We grew up in a different era. Like, you do what your parents said do. Otherwise, there might have been some consequences.
I mean, yes, that's true.
And I think parenting then got a little softer since the 80s. 80s, man, parents ain't play.
Yeah, that's true. But I think I've always questioned that notion. It just never logically made sense to me as that do as I say, not as I do.
Did you talk back to your mom?
I might have sassed a little bit from time to time.
Was there consequences?
I mean, my ass was on punishment a whole lot.
Right.
But
and then growing up now, these kids nowadays, how many times you been out and seeing kids talk crazy to their parents and they don't do nothing? Like that wasn't a thing when we was younger.
Yeah.
You did what your parents said, or you got smacked in the mouth, or you got placed on punishment. You got your car keys took.
Yeah.
You wasn't going outside.
These new age.
I ain't buying you no bike.
That's
Like,
because they start calling the children's services on your stuff,
yeah.
parenting, and start
That's when it
backing out.
started.
That's one of the things. You start sassing and you get in trouble. You put on, then you got the schools calling the children's services on. You got the kids knowing. Yeah, it's probably why we got some of the problems that we got
Yeah.
today with our children, because parents. And then now, and it's so funny. Because now you got the mayors on the TV, on the governor saying, this is a parenting problem. You don't know where your kids are. You're not controlling your kids. Well, when I was trying to control them, that might have come with an ass whooping, depending on the child, because some kids don't need whoopings, I don't think. Some kids can take a whooping and they'll learn from it. Some kids you can just talk to. Some kids might be punishment. It might be a combination. As soon as they said you can't whoop your kids, it's a problem, and now they're out of control, and can't nobody control them. And now the mayors and the governors talking about control your kids.
And I did see something about paddling coming back in school.
Yeah, I don't
We
know
were
about
elementary
that.
school.
Yeah.
I remember paddling. I never got paddled, but I remember it. And so now I seen an article recently, and I don't know how true it is, that they were looking at bringing that back to the school system. I was
How
like,
is
it's
that?
gonna be crazy.
How does that even make sense? You don't want the parents to control your kids, but you're going to allow them to go to school and be whooped.
It was a thing
Get
back
a
in the
paddle.
day. So
Yeah, I don't see how that's going to fly. I don't see how that's going to fly at all. And then with all of that's a whole different situation. Yeah, I just don't see how that's going to fly.
listen, I didn't agree with it then, and I don't agree with it now. So I think it's gonna cause more problems.
Yeah, agreed. Can you think of the most funny or chaotic baby panic moment?
Chaotic baby parenting moment.
It could be chaotic. It could be funny.
No, one time I was taking a nap with Michael and I rolled over on him.
Really?
I thought,
The things you find out when you start having conversations.
I thought, whoa, what happened? I woke up real quick, was like, oh man, he rolled over on the baby.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
You never told me that.
yeah. Newsflash.
Wow.
It wasn't like, obviously, I don't even think he woke up. But I think I was more panicked than it was actually
A situation.
a situation. Yeah,
You just
yeah.
started,
You know how you roll over and you
and you
feel
was
the
like,
baby, you're
oh,
like, wait,
he's
whoa.
there.
Yeah. It's one of them. So it wasn't bad, but
That never
you
happened.
wake up and you freak out for 6 seconds and then you're like, okay.
Our son slept with us for a very long time.
No.
I won't say how long, but he slept with us for a very long time. It was never a thing for me because he mostly slept on my chest. And I know that was like a really big thing where doctors was like, don't let your baby sleep with you.
Right.
He slept with us. I was just always awake and alert. And I know they say everybody says that or you think that, but I just really, truly was. I think I was just so probably just connected with him and bonded with him in that way at that time. And it was just always just nurturing, caring, and loving him in that. So I was just always in tune and alert. I was just never fully probably relaxed because I was just always just trying to like make sure he was good, make sure he was okay. I would just never, thank God, that because obviously anything happened and it's an accident, and probably every mom who that has happened to has probably thought and felt the same way.
But I think too, some parents have their children sleep with them because they don't want to keep getting up. I mean, it's taxing it's taxing when the parent got to keep getting up and your baby's crying in the other room. On one hand, you want them to be able to sleep in their room and get used to it. On the other hand, it's if they're next to me and I can feel them, they'll sleep through the night. I can get some rest. I got to go to work early. It's a real situation. So some of that happens because of that. Then all of a sudden you look up and it's wild. They don't want to sleep in their own room now. And I've created this. So it can be tough to get them to start to sleep in the room after a certain period of time. So
early on, it was definitely, there was some convenience factor for sure. But I nursed him. So because of that it was just convenient. Yes. And then it just become habitual. True.
yeah.
I think the most chaotic baby moment or panic moment for me was I remember he was crying, and there was this period where he just cried, and I couldn't figure out why he was crying. So I'm just holding him up late night, holding him in my hands, and I'm just walking around the apartment in and out of a room, and his head hit the door jamb. His head hit, like I'm walking and it hit so hard. I felt so bad. I was so nervous. I'm like, what if I did something to his brain? It was, that.
Wow.
And I don't think that happened just one time. That might have happened 2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
2 or 3 times.
Maybe not 3,
Golly.
but at least twice. I can say for sure that happened. I was, I don't know, just holding him in his arm, just walking and literally just walking. One time, I think the second time wasn't even like me just like pacing entire.
You were just walking from one room to the next.
Yes, and just banged his head right on that wall.
Man.
Yeah. That was bad. So moving on, which one of us would you say is stricter or softer?
I'm definitely stricter, and I'll say you softer.
You're stricter, I'm softer. Do you
I'd
think
probably
it's
say
always been that way?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah. There was times where, even going back to when he needed to clean his room, and y'all make this deal like, okay, you're going to clean your room once a week before you could go somewhere. So I'm listening to this and I'm like, okay, so, but then after a certain amount of time go by it's Friday.
Well, Friday was the day.
Friday was the day. But then if I went in there and, hey, the room's not clean, there was a point in time where you didn't want to go in there. You was like, if I don't go in there and see it, then.
That was more.
And he got away with
years,
it.
Though.
And he got away with it. And he never cleaned. He got away with it because he knew you wasn't going to check.
I'm talking about earlier years. As he got older, I would say between 15 and 18, that's when it started to get to the point where I didn't want to butt heads with him. And it was like choosing peace over that because that was his space. And that's how he was operating. And I know everybody is probably thinking his space. No, it's your house. I had that confliction as well. And I went back and forth with myself. And I remember having some conversations about, or with my counselor at the time. And I remember she said to me, it's his room, it's his space. He lives there because I'm very particular about things and I like things to be a certain way and certain position, or everything has a home. And we had these conversations and
But I've seen this play out.
Between 15 and 17, you were also annoyed. Like he just was not having it. And so then you and I butted heads about that process. And I'm like, I want peace. Like, I don't want to fight with him about his space. I don't have to go over there. And so there was a conscious decision that I made that I would like close the door and not go to the room.
But when he was like 10 or 12, I would remember telling you, like, if he doesn't learn to keep this room clean now, it's going to be a problem when he get older. And then when you got to that point, you didn't want to deal with it. I knew it at 10 and 12 when I was walking in there and his room was a mess and I was making him clean it. And then he was getting upset and he was crying. And I said he couldn't go nowhere. He couldn't have friends over. He couldn't go outside.
He didn't.
It was a big deal then for me. And I knew, and even as he got older.
But let's be clear. The rule was that we do what we have to do before we do what we want to do. And Friday was generally the end of the week. And let's clean up the room for the weekend before you do anything that you want to do. There were weeks maybe or times where maybe the room wasn't cleaned because he had nowhere to go or wasn't expecting somebody to come over. And he wanted the room clean. Whereas to me, I didn't press the issue because, again, it was that room gets cleaned before anything else. But if he wasn't doing anything, then he may or may not have cleaned the room. So I didn't press the issue. Looking back, was that the right thing to do? No, I don't know. Not necessarily. Maybe it was every week the room gets cleaned on this day, no matter what, because it did get progressively worse. It's so funny though, because we had these conversations too, and this is all about parenting, right? You can teach your children, you can show your children, and this to me, I taught him and I showed him because he sees I'm neat, my space is clean, yet he did something completely different with that exercise.
Question, that whole clean up
yes,
song
from
y'all
a
used to sing,
very early age,
everybody
like
do the share, that clean up song.
Life.
Do you think he grew up and as he got older, he wanted somebody to help him clean it? Because you helped him clean it for a long time to keep his room clean when he was younger, and then all of a sudden you stopped and was like, you got to keep your room clean, and he's used to somebody helping him. I just thought about that, but
yeah, I don't
do you think
know.
That was a thing? He might have wanted you to help him.
I mean, that's a part of growing up, right? When you're young, you're teaching, you're showing, you're doing together. And as you grow up, then you start getting more and more responsibility. That's a natural progression. So I don't think it was he expected me. And if he did, he should have learned also very early on that by the time he was between maybe
Seventh and-
6
and-
and 8.
ninth
He
grade.
should have. I didn't make him
No, I'm saying
start cleaning
seventh.
between 7th and 9th grade. He was cleaning up his room by himself in elementary school for sure. I wasn't still singing the cleanup
No, I'm saying
song.
like between that 7th and 9th grade was when he should have by then knew you got to keep your room clean and nobody's helping you do that.
Oh, I feel like by the time he was 6, 7 years old, he knew that nobody's helping him do that.
Oh no,
Elementary
he was
school.
still getting help then.
I wasn't cleaning his room like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I won't argue that. Nonetheless, he knows that he's always known what the expectation was about cleanliness in our home, and he just didn't adopt that. That's something that he strongly adversely has not really clung to, even in my best efforts. So yeah, that wasn't a good influence at all.
So even now though, as he's gotten older, because you're saying the question was who was stricter and who was softy,
Yes.
so to speak. Even now when he wants something, he'll go to you first. I feel like you're an easy yes to him. And so whenever he wants something, he'll come to you. He'll even ask
disagree.
you to tell me to send him money. He just did it. But instead of asking me himself, he'll rather go to you and say, hey, can you have dad send me, cash at me this much money for whatever?
Yeah, that was the first time that he's done it like that. But I don't think it's because I'm softer than you by any means. I think you think that you're harder. I think that your intent is to be harder because I think for some reason you think that's what you should do. Anytime that we've been able to do or give him what he's wanted, he also didn't ask for a whole lot all the time, like frequently. I was like, my answer was pretty much yes. And I remember you saying, you don't always have to say yes. You can say no just to say no. And I'm like, why? To me, the no's come when you don't do what you're supposed to do and he does what he's supposed to do. So why would I give him that resistance and that pushback? And I maintained that and I hardly ever said no. So that reason, maybe that's how his mind construct has formed, but I don't think it's because I'm softer in that way. I think you go in with it with one idea of how you're going to handle it. So back to, he just said Michael asked me to tell his dad to send him some money. And I'm like, why aren't you asking your dad? When I told his dad that, his dad said, I'm not doing it. His dad ended up doing it. And that's usually the way it goes.
Why did I end up doing it though?
So,
Because you said
moving on.
you were going to send it to him if I didn't send him the money anyway. He's like, you was like, I'm gonna end up sending it to him, and I'm like, don't send it to him.
that's not why you did it. You said that he
apologized. He apologized for something he did,
Right.
which he should have. But and I was like, all right, cool.
And that's usually the way it goes. If y'all dialogue that
He
way.
doesn't apologize very often. He wants to make excuses as to why his actions were what they were. So he apologized because he knew I was pissed off about something. Nonetheless, going back to when he was younger, and depending on the circumstance, I would say no because, again, kids shouldn't hear yes all the time. When you get into the real world, it's not a yes all the time, right? So I'm not going to create this false sense of the world is everybody's going to say yes to you. Everybody's going to be pro whatever your child's name is. That's just not happening. So sometimes it's no because of whatever reason. I don't feel like we need to give an excuse or a reason why to a kid that we saying no to whatever this kid either wants to do, wants us to buy, wants whatever. It's no because I said it's no. It's not that I have to have a reason for it. And if I do have a reason, I'm not explaining it to a kid who doesn't understand life circumstances and what things are. I'm just not doing that. So some things are just no because you said no, right? And it's not like a yes every single time. And you didn't have a problem saying yes every single time. So now that he's older, he knows you said 85% of the time yes. He's going with the averages that he's going to get a yes out of you. That's how I feel. And I don't give that yes all the time.
How do we balance marriage and parenthood?
I think there's some things we learned about marriage and parenthood. I think we've lost.
How did we balance
We didn't do a good job balancing it.
marriage
I
and
don't feel
parenthood?
like, but it's we've gotten better at it. And when you're balancing, I think the rub comes where you're focused on your kid the whole time. Whether it's sports, you're going here and there. And for those who have multiple children, they're doing multiple sporting events. And you don't really spend time with your spouse like you did before the kids were here because you're so go, go, go with the kids. So I guess the lesson that we had to learn was you have to start setting time aside to go on date nights and do different things. That's the balance. Because we were so concerned with Michael and growing up, and we didn't have a lot of people to rely on when we lived in Dayton. And it wasn't until we moved back to Columbus where, even then, you mentioned it in the earlier episode that he didn't spend a lot of time alone with grandparents. He was with us all the time, the majority of the time. So we didn't have a lot of time to do us because we had a small child.
Yeah,
So when
I
you're
would
focused
agree.
on that, it takes a little bit of time for you to realize, especially as they get older, they start doing different things. They can stay at home by themselves. You're like, okay, now we can get back to doing us, spending some time together, going to dinner, having a date night. Maybe they're over their friend's house and we got some time alone, but it's a struggle.
Yeah, I think it's a little deeper than that for me. I don't know that, definitely agree that we didn't balance it, but I think we didn't balance it not just because we were focused on Michael, but because we weren't focused on each other. I think that there were other things, life things, our age. I've said this before. I think just the vitality of our marriage, especially in those early years, but we had Michael and we probably used him as an excuse to hone in and focus in on. So I think that there were plenty of times or ways or possibilities that we could have certainly better been able to manage and balance that, but we used that as an excuse just because we weren't really all that in tune with each other, if we're being honest, right?
I disagree. I didn't use Michael as an excuse.
Because you worked. Your other excuse
Yeah, man,
was work, and then
I
also
worked a
in the
lot.
streets.
Yeah, we worked a lot.
Right.
But I don't think I used them as an excuse for
But I think
anything that had naturally happens, not only to us, but to a lot of parents, because your focus is your kid, your child. That becomes your number one
for sure, it
priority.
happens to a lot
And
of
you
parents.
lose yourself in whatever is going on in that child's life. You don't put that focus on your relationship. So the message here is you have to consciously focus on your relationship and do things so that you don't get lost, and then sooner or later your kids grow up, move out of the house, and then you got to relearn your partner. I've heard that from
Or
people that are
learn them
married.
all together. Learn
Yeah,
them
like
in the
it's-
first place.
Yeah, so you don't want to be in that situation.
What do you think suffered the most
Between,
in your relationship?
I don't know, it's a good question. I don't know, what would you say?
Everything suffered.
You said the most though.
Connectedness.
Okay.
I think we were very disconnected for a very long time. Connectedness.
I would agree to that.
And then my other question was going to be what kept us connected, but I don't think it's what kept us connected. I think the question really is, how did we begin to connect? Because while we had marriage and while we were parents and living and doing different things, we were going through the motions of what a relationship and marriage was, but there wasn't really any connectedness in that until much, much later. And then that's when I think we started to be intentional about spending time together and really getting to know each other. There were things we knew about each other. We lived with each other, right?
Yeah, but you had a kid young, so
Right.
stop learning to some degree about whenever the focus isn't on your partner and there's other responsibilities that take over from that, eventually you get back to each other. You got to figure each other out again.
But can I finish what I was saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like get back to, I don't think there was anything for us to get back to, because again, we were so young. You didn't know who you were. I didn't know who I was individually, right? And then we catapulted ourselves into being parents, being spouses, being career people, like trying to figure out our career, all of those things
At the same time,
but also not even understanding entirely, and because we were still growing as individuals, let alone to have an idea or perception of what we wanted or expected from a lifetime partner. I don't think we ever really gave ourselves that space to entertain what that looked like. So we had to grow into that literally
Right.
and figure that out along the way. And so it was really about one, at least for me, trying to figure out who I am and trying to get settled in that and what I'm going to do with myself and what kind of mom I'm going to be. And there was a lot of focus, like all of my focus was into that for a very long time. And then it was like, okay, we're going to do this. And it was when we started being intentional about, let's have date nights, like every Friday night, no matter what, this is what we're going to do. And just really starting to get to know and spend time with each other, that we started to get to know each other and see each other in a different light. And so it was really building our relationship. And again, I don't think that happened until much, much later, unfortunately.
It's a pretty good assessment.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Do you have a response
And
to that?
I
Or do
don't.
you
I mean, I
agree?
agree that, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah, okay. So what's one thing we tell new parents about protecting the couple identity?
First, you got to have an identity. You got to work on that. What you just heard us talk about was the lack of working on that identity. So the only way to have an identity is really to spend time with each other and learn each other and have those conversations about what you want to see out of a partner, and like some of those things that we were too young to even think we needed to have conversations about.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's good to have those conversations. And once you have an identity, then you protect it by having date night and time with each other, no matter what's going on, and
early and often.
utilize family for that reason, if no other reason. And that is spending time with your spouse and being able to have date night and do different things that you want to do without having your children around. And the family can watch your children and be a part of that. I would recommend doing that
Yeah,
so
I-
that you can keep your identity and really keep in tune with each other.
yeah. Or just getting it, like establishing it. I would say
Yeah.
early and often, like
Yeah.
just don't lose sight of that, even in the midst of everything that's going on, because there's always going to be something.
There's
So you
always
have to
something going on.
prioritize, just like you have to prioritize yourself for self-care so that you can make sure that you're there and available, present for people. Then you also have to, I think, prioritize your relationship, because you have time for everything else. What is important to you, to me, and I've maintained that with everything. Like, people make time for what they want to make time for. Like, you can figure it out. And if you got time to sit and watch an hour of some ratchet TV, that's my thing. Then you got time to take an hour to sit with your partner and just connect in some way, or just have that closeness and that intimacy. Because I think that's because you lose that. It can slip away so fast, and you can find every reason to not be in that space with each other. And lots of things can come in between. Like, when you start having that separation, there's a lot of stuff that can get in the mix of that. So I would say date each other continuously all the time and make sure that you make that time in that space. So that does it for episode 4 of Sipping with the Simpkins,
Okay.
Parenting 101.
Parenting 101.
The next one is going to be episode 6. We're going to be talking about also parenting, a continuation, but the Only Child Chronicles, which you should really relate to, being that
Only
you're an
Child
only child
Chronicles.
and you're the father of an only child. Go figure, right?
Passing on the only child thing.
Yes.
So listen, take a look. Thanks for looking at it. Share, subscribe. Any questions, throw them in the chat. We like
Comment.
reading those comments and
Yes.
responding. We appreciate everybody's support and the phone calls and the text messages and whatnot. Until we see y'all again.
Peace.
Peace.